continued fallout from the Indiana Fever loss to the Dallas Wings at home in the home opener to a team that won 10 games last year. The fallout is getting the fandom getting loud. By fandom, I mean Caitlin Clark fandom. You had a lot of things coming out of that. You had the great mystery of back injury. Is it a back injury compensating for something else? Was it a hip?
After the Indiana Fever's heartbreaking 107-104 overtime loss to the Dallas Wings in the season opener, Stephanie White faced the media and acknowledged what was impossible to ignore. The team simply ran out of gas when it mattered most. Caitlin Clark logged nearly 31 minutes. Kelsey Mitchell played 33 minutes. Aaliyah Boston was on the floor for 28 minutes. Indiana's core trio carried an enormous workload from start to finish, and by the time the fourth quarter and overtime arrived, the fatigue was visible. The bench, meanwhile, provided almost no relief offensively or in terms of momentum. That imbalance ultimately left the Fever relying too heavily on their starters in a tightly contested game that went down to the final possessions. In her post-game comments, White openly addressed the issue, acknowledging that the team did not have enough production or support behind its main rotation. That admission immediately sparked strong reactions online, with fans and analysts pointing to the same concern that has been discussed for weeks: depth and rotation balance. This is where the conversation now turns critical, because when your top players are forced into heavy minutes this early in the season, in a game that goes into overtime, the long-term strain becomes a real concern, both strategically and physically. And that's exactly what the Fever now have to confront moving forward: how to support their stars without overextending them in high-pressure moments.
Yesterday is the second team, the second unit. The bench is not good. It's not. I said yesterday, I watched the Liberty play the other day. The game had gotten so far away, they had their second unit. Their second unit would beat the living shit out of our second unit. They'll run us out of the building. If we're not careful, they will run us out of the building. We have a lack of length, too many guards.
Let's break down the exact context of what actually happened on the floor in this season opener. Kelsey Mitchell played 33 minutes and 7 seconds, scoring 30 points. Caitlin Clark logged 30 minutes and 48 seconds with 20 points and 7 assists. Aaliyah Boston added 23 points in 28 minutes. Indiana's big three combined for 73 points, an elite offensive output that, under normal circumstances, should be enough to win a game. But the rest of the rotation simply did not hold up. Lexi Hull went 0-4-2 in limited action. Raven Johnson scored 2 points in 11 minutes. Tyasha Harris played just 4 minutes and didn't register a point. Sophie Cunningham finished with 3 points on 1 of 2 shooting in 25 minutes, but never really shifted the momentum of the game. One key rotation piece, Monique Billings, didn't play due to injury or illness, further thinning Indiana's depth in a game that already demanded more from the bench. But the most controversial decision came with Chatori Walker-Kimbrough. After a preseason game where she scored 18 points and looked like one of the most reliable bench scoring options on the roster, she did not play a single second in the opener, a DNP coach's decision. That move quickly became the focal point of fan frustration, especially as Indiana's starters were visibly fatigued late in the fourth quarter and overtime. With no reliable scoring punch coming from the second unit, the workload stayed locked on the big three for the entire game. That's the tension now surrounding the post-game comments from head coach Stephanie White. Because while she acknowledged the team needs more support, the rotation decisions told a very different story, one that fans and analysts are now questioning in real time. And that's where the bigger conversation begins: how roster decisions, rotation trust, and bench utilization directly shaped a game that Indiana had in reach.
Should we deny? What do you think they're going to run here?
This is a look of a coach that has zero idea what she's doing. This is the look of a coach that has zero idea what she's literally in the heat of the moment when adversity is adversitying the most, if that's even a word.
When a professional head coach stands at a post-game podium and openly admits her team made a strategic mistake involving excessive minutes for key players, it usually signals something deeper than just frustration with a single game. In the case of Stephanie White after the Indiana Fever's season opener, there are only two ways to interpret her comments. Either she is acknowledging that her own rotation decisions were flawed and will need to be adjusted moving forward, or she is indirectly pointing to roster limitations and suggesting the team simply does not have enough depth to sustain her star's workload. When she talks about needing a good rotation, that phrase becomes important. It suggests awareness that the current rotation structure did not function effectively on opening night. In practical terms, that leaves two possible solutions: adjust coaching decisions with the existing roster, or rely on the front office to add more depth over time. Fans and analysts immediately picked up on that nuance. Social media quickly filled with reactions debating whether White was criticizing her own decisions or highlighting a roster imbalance that limits her flexibility. Some viewed it as accountability, others as subtle pressure directed toward the front office. From a basketball standpoint, the concern is straightforward. When your core players are logging heavy minutes this early in the season, rotation balance becomes critical. If the bench is not providing consistent production, the burden naturally shifts to the starters, and that creates fatigue in high-pressure moments. At the center of that discussion are the same rotation choices made in the game itself, including decisions about which bench players were used and when. That is where the disagreement between coaching intent, roster construction, and in-game execution is now being heavily scrutinized. And that is why this post-game conversation has grown beyond just one loss. It has turned into a broader debate about rotation trust, roster depth, and how Indiana plans to manage its stars over a long season.
I mean, 1.5, 1.6 thousand likes to nearly 400 comments. That is not the ratio that you are trying to see. Fire White, no size playing CC off ball. She does what she does, not work. Then talks trash about Caitlin Clark fans. Look in the audience, what do you see?
There are legitimate basketball arguments for why a coach might make specific rotation decisions. Chatori Walker-Kimbrough, for example, is a veteran who can be most effective in certain matchups, and a coaching staff may choose to deploy her selectively depending on opponent style or game plan. In theory, that's part of experienced roster management at the professional level. But all of those theoretical explanations get judged against two simple realities. First is the result. The Indiana Fever lost a close overtime game. When a team falls by just a few points in a game they had a real chance to win, every rotation decision gets magnified, especially when the margin comes down to fatigue, late-game execution, and bench contribution. Second is context. In high-pressure fourth quarter and overtime moments, coaching decisions are ultimately evaluated by outcomes, not intentions. If key players are logging heavy minutes late and the bench is not contributing enough, the rotation strategy naturally becomes part of the post-game scrutiny. That's why the discussion around this game has intensified so quickly. Fans are focusing less on theory and more on what actually happened in real time, including substitutions, matchups, and how Indiana managed its energy down the stretch. This is Glowstar Vision. Smash that subscribe button if you want the unfiltered breakdown that doesn't ignore coaching decisions or front office questions. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your boldest take in the comments right now. Was Stephanie White showing accountability after the game, or was she shifting blame toward roster construction? And what do you think went into the decision to limit Chatori Walker-Kimbrough in a game that went down to the wire? I want every opinion below. Hit the notification bell, because the next game is just 3 days away, and all eyes are on how this team responds. See you on the next breakdown.